Welcome to the Nick Taylor Horror Show, your one-stop shop for horror filmmaking tips, tricks, resources, and strategies straight from the dark minds who are making it happen in horror today. As always, each episode of the Nick Taylor Horror Show explores and deconstructs the success strategies of established horror directors while summarizing the key insights and resources that you can use on your own horror filmmaking journey. This includes their creative processes, strategies for getting their first films off the ground, favorite books and tools, key life lessons, and much, much more. Today, we have Gigi Saul Guerrero on the show. Gigi is a Mexican-Canadian filmmaker, writer, and actress who started her career making shorts, including the Mexican wrestler gorefest, Luchagore, which is now on Shudder. Gigi made her feature debut with the scathingly confrontational social commentary feature Culture Shock for Blumhouse as a part of their Into the Dark series, now streaming on Hulu. Today, Gigi is directing episodes of the Purge TV series, also for Blumhouse, and is attached to a new feature project about the Mexican religious icon Santa Muerte. She's one of the most exciting emerging new voices in horror, and I really enjoyed talking to her about how she got started, her favorite Mexican horror movies, and as always, her recommended strategies for aspiring directors. Here, without further ado, is Gigi Saul Guerrero. It seems like you're on fire these days.
Oh, thank you so much. It's just the beginning. So I got to keep it up.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, I read initially about your first look deal with Blumhouse, which is super cool, and I definitely want to talk about. But the Santa Muerte project sounds amazing. I mean, I know it's very early, but what can you tell us about that project?
Well, yeah, it is really early because I don't even know. I'm just really excited that the Screen Gems was ready and eager to tackle such a big part of our culture, which is Santa Muerte. It's like a big thing, it's almost hard to describe it as just with a thing. It's like it's a big part of our culture, our background. And Santa Muerte has been a religion that it's not been clear for a lot of people as to what it is. A lot of general people think it's just a religion for criminals or for lower class citizens, and it's not like that. So I'm excited to really bring to life what I know about it and what I embrace about it, and just keep it authentic. So but yeah, like you said, it's early, so there's time to continue to develop into an awesome feature. And the goal is to have a franchise, right? So we'll see where life takes us on that one.
Very cool. Well, how do you describe to people who don't know what Santa Muerte is? How do you describe it?
Well, I described it as many, many ways. When I go into depth, like when I really go into deep detail, like it's, the Lady of Holy Death, Mexican folklore and all that, people kind of freak out a little bit and they're like, what? Like, what do you mean the Lady of Death? Like they don't understand. So I've kind of toned it down. and now I keep it so basic. I'm like, that imagery of the Virgin Mary, but with a skull, that one. And then they're like, oh, yes, I've seen that. And then I just keep it as simple as possible. But I love describing about it how it's not even a religion, it's a way of life. It's a lifestyle with, a type of faith that it has a very vivid imagery, but it really is about, this deity, this goddess figure that has your back. And there's someone that's not going to judge you, and I always I'm not a Santa Muerte believer myself, but when I started looking into it and appreciating it some more and visiting some of the altars in Mexico, I was like, wow, like people really look at her with more than just faith. They look at her with inch of their bones and their blood to have that protection. It's quite beautiful. In Mexico, we look as Mexicans, we look at death so differently, than most countries. We're not afraid of it. Like we cherish it.
Mm.
And it's all kind of strangely connected in our folklore, like with Day of the Dead and Santa Muerte and all that. Like all symbolism of death is very much, I find personally, very connected and very spiritual. So it's very cool to bring that point of view to life. So I'm excited.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I'm getting excited just hearing you talk about it. I mean, it sounds like such beautiful and meaningful subject matter. I mean, I can't wait to see what you do with it.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No, of course. So it sounds like you've been pretty busy with the Purge TV show these days. How has that been going?
Ooh, honey, please. That was intense. That was a really intense shoot. It was just my my first time on TV. So I really didn't know how insanely fast paced it is, and you really, as a director, like for anybody listening to this and starting out, like you really on TV do not have time to second guess on anything.
Mm,
Whatever your gut is telling you is what you have to go with. So I
yeah.
really learned that very quickly, that there's just no time for anything. So you really have to be confident in that your answer maybe was the wrong one, but you have to make it work. There's no time to go back.
But if you can deal with TV, you can do movies like not easily, but it just really, really, it's like boot camp for producers.
I agree with that. I agree with that because TV, the thing is like you have to be able to tell a story and shoot it in such a quick turnaround. So you have to be very, not basic, but very like, well, maybe basic was the right word. But you have to be very smart on how to get it all done in
Mm,
such a short amount of time. And if you're able to tell that story well, keeping it simple, concise, then yeah, a feature is a walk in the park because you can really elaborate on it, take your time on it, really, milk it all.
mm,
And in TV, you can't.
right.
So that was quite the change for me because I was like, I wanted to go big on a lot of things. I wanted to, like really go crazy on certain stunts or certain shots or something. But you come to realize you don't have time. And you really have to split it up into the right moments of when you can do that. So I was like, all right, well, I'll put it all on the gore
Mm.
and see what stays.
It's always a safe
So
bet.
right, the gore is always a safe bet. So I'm like, it's the purge. It's okay. I can.
So, how were you able to approach the Purge? I mean, it's a well-established property. How were you able to bring your own sensibility to something that was kind of pre-existing?
Um, that's a great question. It was really, I was so blessed and so lucky to hear that they gave me such a big episode and the one that, you know, everything happens. Like I don't want to give it anything away, but it's the one that, within the characters, when you watch the season, it's the night you're anticipating of a lot of things to happen. And I was like, oh my God, like they're trusting a first time TV director for this. This is so cool. But I feel that definitely my sensibilities and my love for horror and my love for, the purge really worked out. And it's a very strong episode. Episode 9 is very strong. And definitely when people watch it, they're going to be like, oh, I see a lot of Gigi in this. Like
That's
there's a lot of
awesome.
very cool. There's a lot of crazy things that some of the characters do to each other that I was like, yeah. Like, and people will tell. I think close people to me will be able to tell little things that I implemented and
Mm,
brought to it. So it's exciting. I'm so excited because the purge I think is a great challenge for anybody um, directing in genre, because it's not just horror, it's a lot of like very dramatic and suspenseful situations between people and real people. In this holiday that we're not far off from it.
Mm.
So, I really felt a connection to it. And after making Culture Shock, that movie, I just really felt connected to just realistic horror that we're not far from. We're not
Right.
far from being like that and being that savage to each other. That I just really felt still fresh in my mind from making Culture Shock into bringing it to the Purge. And
Oh,
it's
that's
all
awesome.
handheld, so I was like, "This is my jam. I
Oh, that's
know
awesome.
exactly what I'm doing." So, yeah.
Oh, very cool. Well, you said that people will watch it and see your hand in it. So, how do you describe your aesthetic as a director?
My aesthetic. I mean, one of the things. I could go so many ways with that. Great.
Yeah,
You have
because I
great
mean, just in
questions.
seeing your work, you seem to have a very strong visual language, and definitely reminded me a little bit of Rob Zombie in a way, who I love as a director. But
He's a huge inspiration.
oh
When
yeah,
I saw, yeah, I was in film school and I had never heard of him. And one of my best friends today, Luke Bramley, he's been the cinematographer in a lot of my stuff. He said, "You got to watch this movie," and he gave me his DVD of Devil's Rejects.
nice.
And I was like, "What is this?" So I watched. I'm like, "This is the best, dirtiest thing I've ever seen." Like, I didn't even know there was such horror. I've never seen something so grimy and so
Yeah,
dirty and visceral. And I find my aesthetic, I've really wanted to capture that in everything I've made. I don't want the characters to be saying too much. I just want visually to know what is going on. And I find if you can almost feel the sweat and the smell and just the atmosphere where the characters are at, I'm doing my signature, like my job. And
yeah,
um so I really find myself in love with not just handheld and keeping it claustrophobic and grimy, like a lot of my work is, but I really want the frame to speak for itself,
mm,
without having it explained.
yeah,
So hopefully, that translated in the Purge episode I did. And I know there's a couple scenes people are gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I see her right there."
yeah.
Um, so definitely, I mean, there's still a lot of room for me to grow and continue to try out new things. And I mean, I definitely did that in Culture Shock when I filmed. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's
Yep.
a section. Okay, well, the whole section when they enter Cape Joy, like the Pleasantville, it doesn't look like whatsoever anything I've ever made in my life.
Right.
But it was really cool to just bring a different aesthetic, like a different point of view, um, and challenge myself.
I mean, with an aesthetic as strong as yours, how do you work with your DP? I'm really curious about your process for getting those visuals across. I mean, do you make lookbooks? Do you guys sit and watch certain movies together? Like, how do you work with your DP to get across such a strong look?
We 100%, like, I mean, I've been working with Luke Bramley, who I just brought up. He introduced me to Rob Zombie and all the great things of horror. Him and I started out by just watching movies together and just really picking out scenes or moments of films that we like. And we were in film school together. So we were both kind of growing and learning, at the same time. And we were the only horror freaks in the class. So it was like, it was really nice to learn from each other what we like,
Mm,
and slowly, started developing, um doing almost like, we started this is kind of like my film student days, but we would use Comic Life a lot, which is this really not so great of an app. And we would storyboard, like take pictures with our phones and download the lenses on our phones to have the different sizes of the frame.
That's
We
cool.
would we would just do the storyboards with ourselves or with my family, just shitty in the house, like, and we would put it on Comic Life, and that's how we would print out our storyboards.
That's
Like,
cool.
it's just with terrible pictures of ourselves, but it actually worked every single time. And we would put that right beside screenshots of movies that were very similar to what we were going for. And even though our picture looks shitty, we could put it beside the really good screen capture of that movie, and it looked identical in a way where it was the same frame size, it was the same, depth of field or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell immediately we were really trying to go for bigger things. And
Right.
we did that with every single short film of mine, every single one that we did together. And then for Culture Shock, it was the first time that I worked with a new DP because I had to move to LA for it and leave my team in Vancouver behind. So I was a little nervous. I was like, fuck, like I only know my one way with Luke, right?
Right.
And cool enough, Byron, the cinematographer in Culture Shock, he was so cool and he was totally into that same vibe. He showed up with his lookbook and he had the same photos I took from Google in my
Whoa.
lookbook. we, we had the same movies broken down. We looked like two little kindergarten children trading books. Like that's exactly what our first meeting was like. And then it was such an easy process. It was just definitely the way I was so used to doing it, just giving each other movies to watch. I gave him a good three to just watch and learn from. Like he watched Babel, he watched what was the name? Sin Nombre, like a few border crossing films
Mm-hmm.
that he hadn't seen, and I'm like, this is what the first half of the movie is gonna look like. Watch these. And he did, came back with the same idea with the references he liked, the screenshots he liked, and we just went from there. It's a really fun process because you really describe to each other how you want it to look, and you show each other the references every day.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I love to do is actually print the references on nice paper and just have them on set with me every day and just point and be like, right, this is the look we're going for this one.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
smart.
just have it on you. So
Yeah.
it's really fun. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you were mentioning shorts. So you've made a number of shorts in your career. And there's a lot of directors who have different thoughts on shorts. Some say that it's very worthwhile to do shorts. Other directors don't do shorts and they're not a fan of doing them. But in your experience, do you recommend that aspiring filmmakers make shorts? I mean, what have you gained from doing the shorts that you've done?
Oh man, I think shorts are the shit. I think shorts are like the best way to learn the craft fast and get better at it. Because shorts, even though I made 18, it's a
Whoa.
lot. Yeah, it's too many. I think that's a little too much. But you just got to make shorts until, it's time. I think everything happens for a reason. And every single short we made and I directed, we got better as a team. We got fast. I got my training on the shorts. And I think that's why I was able to do Culture Shock and The Purge because I knew how to do things so quick and so on the fly and be very, very economical with the budgets I was given. Because Blumhouse is very smart in sticking to a lower budget and making great stuff and finishing stuff.
Yeah.
And definitely you need to be a director that understands how to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
coming from the indie world, it was damn, like shorts was my film school, 100%. And I highly recommend them. They discipline you. They discipline you as much as a film school would, because I know so many people that indie filmmakers that get so excited, film the short, start editing, and they leave it halfway because they're discouraged already.
Mm.
or even make it halfway through the shoot, or not even, they make it halfway through the script. So I think if you can discipline yourself to finish a short film, you're on the right track to
Right.
success, in my opinion. So, you just can't be afraid of failure, and shorts will teach you how to not be scared. In this business, you can't be afraid of failure in any capacity. You have to gain it as a tool to get better every single time.
Yeah.
So whether it's, 2 short films or something like that, like Fetty, who did the amazing remake of Evil Dead.
Oh, I love that.
Things, or maybe you're like me, you got to do 18. So be it. It'll take you to where you need to be, but you have to stay in it.
Yeah.
You have to. Yeah.
Yeah. What was the short that Fetty did that got him Evil Dead? I think it was called Panic Attack or something. It was the big robots that were attacking a city.
Yeah, it was like giant robots on a city. I was like, damn, well, heck, great.
Yeah.
So that's encouraging.
Yeah. Now he's apparently doing the next Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I heard he's producing it. I don't know if he's directing it, but because when you see what he was able to do with Evil Dead, it was a remake that didn't feel like a remake, which is it made me excited about because usually I don't like the idea of horror remakes, but in this case, it brought it to such a different level. He's a very exciting filmmaker.
Dude, it was sick. Yeah, I really liked that one. It was like a total reimagining, and it was dark.
Yeah.
It was dark. It wasn't funny at all like the first one.
No.
It was weird.
But it was just as crazy. I actually just got the uncut version, which is like another half hour longer. I haven't watched it yet, but it's one of my favorite horror movies of the past 10 years. So there's a story I really love about when you were making M for Matador, you were able to get a farm by paying the guy who owned the farm with 6 cases of beer. And I feel like that speaks to the kind of filmmaker ethos that directors need to have, is just finding a way on the fly to do things. And it doesn't always have to be by the book. But what was the whole process like for making M is for Matador? It sounds like I personally really enjoy the ABCs of Death, although some of them are way too intense, but I'm a big fan.
No, that was fun. I was still in school, I think, when that happened. And I remembered we had done another little competition here locally with a different short film, and we won second place. So we got a little bit of cash. And then this ABCs of Death thing, I saw it online, and I'm like, oh, we should put our cash towards this. And we did. I think we won $1,000 at this little local thing. And that's how much we made MS for Matador for. It was $1,000.
Whoa, that cost $1,000?
That's it. Yeah.
Whoa. I didn't realize that with ABCs of Death, you had to self-finance it. I thought that the producers were handing people money to make these shorts, but that was not the case.
No, because it was for competing to be in it. I was one of the filmmakers competing to be in the anthology. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. So that's the thing. Like, you kind of just have to go with what you have access to. In this case, my producer, he knew this farm. He knew that they were Spielberg was shooting that farm. They were shooting. I forget the name of the movie, but they were shooting at that farm. And he's like, yeah, I'm sure it's a really cool farm, and I'm sure we can get it. And we went, and it was so there was animals and goats everywhere. And the old man was so nice, and he was a little skeptical at first, like these group of young people are just wanting to shoot at his farm. But as soon as we offered him beer and food, he was all in. He was a total farmer, and it was so much fun. We just had to the experience was cool because we're doing this with nothing, just a few of us. We're getting our shoes disgusted in every kind of poop and mud. And I remember a little baby goat escaped the fence and got into the set, and he just tore all our lights and hit everything.
Oh, shit.
It was like we were chasing that baby goat for like 20 minutes. It was quite making Matador was quite the trip. And that little short like got us just a little bit more attention, and like it really led us to more to other projects, like to be in this anthology called Mexico Barbaro
Mm-hmm.
on Netflix. And we're like, damn, like, and that's just all because social media is so strong. You never know who's watching.
Yeah.
And that's how we got contacted. So that's what I mean. Like, if you can make shorts, heck, just do them and get better at them. Like, I look back at all these shorts I did, like Matador, and I'm like, oh my God, these are hilarious, because I was taking them so seriously. But heck, each thing gets better. You're learning. So
Right. Still can't believe you made that for $1,000. It looked amazing. I mean, it didn't look low budget. I mean, how were you able to make it look so good? I guess. I mean, was that all I mean, it didn't look cheap at all. How were you able to make it look more expensive than $1,000?
just the committed people.
Yeah.
But it was just
That's
not on my
awesome.
little DSLR. It was on our 60D, like on our tiny little camera. It was just we were just very careful on how to shoot certain things, but it wasn't with much. It really wasn't.
That's really cool. So you're also a teacher, right?
Yeah, you're catching me at my work right now.
As a director with hands-on experience, what are some of the things that you teach your students that are not typically taught in film school? Because you have real experience.
Yeah, no, like I feel very, very lucky to be an instructor here, because I'm pulling up literally the stuff that's gotten me work. Like, I'm showing these students my lookbooks, my pitches, my documents, so they see exactly what worked.
Mm,
And I even, I compare to them my Indiegogo failure, and I compare my Kickstarter success, and I really show them real life things that I went through, that most teachers wouldn't. I've
right.
even shown like emails that I fucked up on, that I'm like, never do this. You see this email, and I would put it on the big screen. I'm like, this is why I didn't get that job.
Oh, wow. What was the story
Like,
behind that email?
oh man, it was pretty much actually funny enough. I could totally share this story. It was one of my first emails to Blumhouse. I wasn't even close to them yet. And I was just so eager and wanting them to read my scripts and my stuff that it was all shit. Like, I sent the crappiest of crap. And I didn't even like look at my spelling errors. I just was so eager that I had a contact, and I just went for it. The script wasn't good. It was just that kind of stuff, and me emailing back being like, did you read it? Can you read it? Are
Mm,
we going to talk being a little too
right.
annoying? And I showed them, I'm like, never do this,
Right.
never. And just stuff like that I could tell they get really inspired, and that inspires me because I was just there. And it's a very rewarding job teaching. I really love it. And it's cool because the school let me redo the curriculum for my term, and I base it all on horror and violence.
That's great.
Yeah, so we're like breaking down like all the things from Carrie in the 70s to The Shining to even like non-horror like Eastern Promises, or
I love that
um,
one.
for old men, and anything like dark and violent. Everyone's like, "Oh, Gigi's class is awesome," or I have so many students walking out because I always warn them before a videotape, or before a clip,
Mm.
and I love making fun of them, being like, "Boo, you're a wimp." And pretty funny.
They got to
Pretty
get
funny
ready for
class.
your class. That's great. So,
Yeah.
what can you tell me about your video game?
Oh man, that was quite the roller coaster. I don't know. Because Capcom Japan just kind of took over Capcom Vancouver. So I mean, it's kind of like I I don't know what they'll do. I did my job,
Mm-hmm.
I wrote the game and delivered, and now I'm just waiting to
Yeah.
see what they do. So that working in the video game business was a total eye opener of how intense and like different it is than any other entertainment industry I've worked on. It's very corporate. It's very by the book. It really relies on every single person that is, making one little inch of animation or anything on that
Mm-hmm.
game. Anything goes wrong, it trickles down all the way to you, to the writer, and you got to change it for them.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike on set, everybody's gonna make it work for that director. It's not like that in video games at all. It's yeah, it was quite the process. So I mean, I hope I see the game. I hope something comes out of it. It's kind of out of my hands now.
Yeah.
So
Are you in a place where you can talk about the game, or is that all confidential still?
totally still confidential.
Okay. So when you were growing up and developing a love for horror, were there any kind of formidable movies that set you on the path and made you think this is what I want to do for a living?
Oh yeah, definitely. I will never forget this moment. I started getting into horror as a child because I wasn't allowed to watch horror, but I didn't know it was something I would do. I just liked it. It was
Yeah.
just like a rebellious thing,
Forbidden fruit is always sweeter.
right? Yeah. And growing up, I was getting into acting and I was in theater and I just loved making people laugh. And I knew I was gonna be some like Broadway star. Like that was like what I was thinking was gonna happen.
Once you knew that you wanted to make films, what was some of the best advice that was given to you when you were just getting started?
Oh man, that's a good one. I've gotten a lot of advice. Lots of advice.
Yeah, because I feel like there's a lot of bad advice out there, and there's a lot of people who are telling aspiring filmmakers, "Oh, it's so hard, and there's a good chance you're not going to make it." And there's just so much shit advice that's given to people. So, what was some of the good advice that you were given?
the advice I always got was story, 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 story. If you can tell this story, um, like an elevator pitch, or if you can explain this story just by talking about it and you have them engaged, you have a good story.
Right.
You are a storyteller. When I met Eli Roth in person, I think I must have been like 25 and I was still in school. He was so kind to me and he gave me some of the best advice still today. I always text him for help. Like he's been a wonderful friend and mentor to myself um, starting out. And he always just had great advice and like with visual references and music and what movies to watch and just very much all about stay in it and go for it. Like he would be like, shut the fuck up and just do it. Like stop complaining and just do it.
Right.
And fuck, it's true. It worked. Like it worked. And a lot of the advice he gave me was like, if you're not ready for something, don't do it. But if you are eager for something, do it. Like always find that difference in that because this business gets pretty cruel. And finding even the people to represent you can be really hard and like finding friends and like people to trust. So definitely, one of the things was that he taught me was like once you connect with people, really stick with them because they will take care of you and you will take care of them back. But you have to be always looking out for yourself, always.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, the best advice, I don't know who told me this one, but the never be afraid of failure was still to this day is the best thing that I always look back at because you just can't, or this industry will eat you alive.
Yeah.
if you worry so much about it. It's just filmmaking. You have to look at it like that because we as artists, as you know, we put our every inch of our body and soul and heart into our projects that a lot of filmmakers get depressed after making a film, get sick or like whatever, because we put everything in it, everything.
Yeah.
We just have to always remember to put ourselves forward.
What's the most ideal project for you? What do you really want to do next in horror?
I mean, my dream project, and it's still the same one, is to make El Gigante the feature.
Nice.
I gotta make that. I have to. I don't care what anybody says. I have this fight with my agent all the time. He's like, no, that short is old and you can't. I'm like, no, that short is gonna live forever. And it's like a funny joke between us.
That's cool.
And he's like, no, you will make a Marvel movie first. I'm like, no, I want to make Gigante. I need to make that feature or I will never live with myself.
Yeah, that feature was, or that short was great. It had such a strong visual to it. It looked unbelievable. I would love to see a full length.
Right? We need that luchador to be the next villain. Like, he's got to hang out with Freddy, Michael, and he's got to be everyone's new friend.
No, I can see it.
Right? We need a border town villain. What's up?
Yeah. It's funny. Rob Zombie was there. He had a luchador script that he was supposed to make, and it was based on a comic book. And they did some concept art, and it looked unfucking believable. It looked insane, but somehow he was never able to get it done.
Damn it.
Yeah.
I would so pay to see that.
I know, it'd be great. So for people who are new to Mexican horror, what are some of your go-to movies that people should see if they haven't seen much Mexican horror movies?
Oh, man. You know what you just reminded me of? I made a video with a friend of the top 5 Mexican horrors to watch. I should repost that.
Oh man, I never didn't see that.
Yeah, I'm gonna re-upload it. Maybe next week for Halloween. It's a good video. It's a good little video. No, I talk about 5 movies. And they're all very different times. I talk about one that's called Santa Sangre. Santa Sangre is really good. I talk about Alucarda. And then the original of We Are What We Are, the Mexican one. In Spanish, it was called Somos Lo Que Hay. But if you just put We Are What We Are, that's a good original film. It's gnarly. And then I talk about, what's the 4th one? I can't remember, but yeah. This one is fucked up. It's called We Are the Flesh. That shit is nasty, man. I don't even know if it's good, but it traumatized me.
Wow.
Traumatized me. And the 5th one, so We Are What We Are the Flesh. And the last one is called Atroz, which means atrocious. So you can only imagine what that one is. But that one is like a total take. It's by a guy named Lex Ortega. He's a crazy, crazy cool guy, but he makes all his stuff very real. And Atroz focuses on snuff films.
Ooh.
So he shot it like a snuff movie in certain scenes. So it's really hard to know, or no, it's fake, but it's really hard to tell yourself it's fake.
Right.
Because it's that atrocious.
Yeah, it's always so much harder to watch movies that look like they're handheld or hand shot with video cameras and whatnot. I mean, there's something your mind doesn't realize that it's a movie, or your brain does, or part of your brain thinks it's real. It just processes it computes as reality, which is very startling.
Totally. So yeah, Atroz is still to this day, the movie that's messed me up the most. He was very kind to me and let me be one of the first people to watch it. I was in Mexico City. I was in Mexico City at the time, and I was there with my group, my team of Vancouver people. And he was like, "Hey, I just finished sound mixing. Do you guys want to watch the playback?" We're like, "Yeah, sure." I'm I nearly died. Like I had to ask him to stop it because I couldn't watch it.
Whoa.
I couldn't watch it.
Did you ever finish it?
I did. I was being a good friend.
Wow.
But I told him, dude, you can't do this to me. This is a lot.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to post that video again. I'm
cool.
totally going to post that.
Yeah, now I'm
video.
intrigued. Now I definitely want to see that movie.
Yeah.
Very cool. So when it comes to filmmaking and directing, there's a lot of books out there about filmmaking and writing and directing and all of that. And a lot of it is written by people who've never actually done it. So there's a lot of just bullshit in that whole industry of books. But were there any resources or books that were particularly helpful for you, either on, the business of filmmaking or directing or writing or anything?
Totally the book. I mean, everybody talks about it, but Rebel Without a Crew. Yeah, Rebel Without a Crew, the Rodriguez book. I read that, and that is an amazing book. Like that book maybe it didn't give me so many tools on what to do, but it gave me the amount of inspiration I needed to not give up. One that I can't recommend enough that helped me with my writing is called Save the Cat.
Right.
It's called Save the Cat. And that book is amazing. It's an easy read, but that book is so legit about writing. So any writer, directors, or writers out there, get Save the Cat. It's going to make you a better writer.
Okay,
now.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm just here in Vancouver, back to the desk. It's great. Like I was just like in LA making Culture Shock and like going to all these like red carpet things and festivals and the Purge. And then I get home and I'm back at my 9-to-5 job. Isn't that crazy? I find that so crazy.
But you have so much to give your students, which I think is amazing. I mean, you're doing all this stuff and they get to, in real time, they get to learn from the things that you're doing like right now, which is extraordinary.
Yeah, no, it's crazy in a way that it's cool because I feel like I am giving back in a way. I am going back to just being a normal person, not just some crazy person on set. Because I was going crazy. I was a crazy, crazy lady. But no, it's nice. It's nice to be home. So let's chat again.
Definitely.
We got a lot of fun stories to share.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let's definitely do it again soon. Awesome.
Great.
Thank you again. I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Great conversation with Gigi. So here are my key takeaways from this conversation with Gigi Guerrero for aspiring horror filmmakers. Number one, shorts are the shit. A lot of filmmakers praise the value of shorts for their priceless educational value. Gigi, who's done 18 shorts, claims that they are the best way to learn the craft of filmmaking fast. As simple as it may seem, each short incrementally gets you more familiar with the craft of filmmaking, and it does this on a condensed timeline. Furthermore, shorts are also a way for first-time directors to purge their mistakes and amateur habits in a low-risk environment, which is also very important too. Doing shorts also offers you the opportunity to build relationships with a crew that you can move on to bigger projects with. Number two, finish what you start. Gigi mentions that the caveat to the importance of shorts is the importance of having enough discipline to finish them. Frequently, filmmakers have multiple projects in varying stages of production, but nothing to their name that is completed. This is not great for your career because people need to see evidence that you can finish something. Through finishing her 18 shorts, Gigi learned invaluable lessons about filmmaking while demonstrating her style, voice, vision, and ability to finish what she started. Now she's working with Blumhouse. Number three, go with your gut. TV sets are notoriously grueling production experiences because of the breakneck pace and relentless shooting schedules. But A lot of producers and directors who have worked on TV sets credit the experience with giving them a fast-acting production rhythm, which required them to have much more trust in their own intuition. Since there's next to no room for second-guessing anything on such a short timeline, Gigi's work on the Purge TV series taught her exactly this, and she credits it as a very valuable experience for her as a director. Thank you guys, as always, for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to me if you would share it with your friends, family, and colleagues on social media. Don't forget to follow the show on Instagram at I'm Nick Taylor, also on Twitter at the exact same handle, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks again for listening to the Nick Taylor Horror Show.